This is very exciting. Thank you.
Look, this is exciting for me too. That newspaper that you made
Yes.
is so good. It's so specific. It's so funny. And my favorite part of it is it's the little jokes. I mean, the Gagliardi toilet paper coffee filters is great, but down in the bottom corner, this whole headline about Father Chuck and the stuff, but down in the bottom corner, the teeny tiny little also global terrorist attacks. That being tiny in the corner made me laugh so hard.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
great.
so
The whole thing
much.
is really funny.
It took me all night to do that.
Oh my god, it's great. It's so fun. I love it. Well, it does not go unnoticed or unappreciated because that is some
Well, thank you.
high quality comedy and a little bit of shade thrown. Yeah, which I
um,
appreciate.
I love that you say that. Thanks so much. I got questions that I printed up.
This is very exciting. I
I
love this.
know this is very exciting for me
Yeah.
too. My family was quite tired of every Sunday me going, last night's
Oh,
episode. Did you? I had to.
you know what? For me too, it was the same way. Like just waiting to see what would happen. Like because stuff gets changed around. Like what's gonna make it? Which cut are they gonna
You
use?
must
Like
have you must have filmed scenes that didn't show up in the final thing, or you used different takes or something, and they
a
didn't know.
few, yeah.
Like you knew what was going to happen, but maybe not the exact takes. But I was like, I was going to try to do it in chronological order, but I have to talk
Yeah.
about this now because it was very exciting when you got kidnapped.
Oh my gosh. I always get kidnapped. Like I love that they put me in trouble and then have Mike
Why
Shaw
they
save me.
why they do that to you? They did it last season too.
Yeah. I
But
think it's
that
because
go
this
ahead.
character is like he does not have a mean bone in his body,
No,
this
it's
character.
like
So to kidnap him is like it's the opposite of save the cat. It's like let's kidnap the nice guy
because
uh and show that
because
you're really bad.
because Chuck can't fight his way out like
No.
Danny and Lexi can. Because
No.
if they get kidnapped, which they do frequently, it's like, oh, they'll
Yeah.
just fight their way out. It's fine. But Chuck is like, he
No.
can't fight.
Well, Chug also he like from the beginning of the season, Danny and Lexi get beaten up all the time, and their scars are gone by the next episode.
I was noticing the one here. I kept watching it heal. I was like,
Yeah,
is he okay?
it was fun on days when if there were days in Italy that we were shooting, and it would have to be, we would shoot from like 4 different days, so it worked really well for the set. We'll go to one set and we can get a bunch of stuff that takes place over the course of the season. But Colleen on makeup was like
Colleen
she was
Quinton.
Colleen Quinton, the brilliant Colleen Quinton, who can speak to ghosts, who I love everything about her. She told me those ghost stories, by the way, while we were sitting on a roof in our makeshift rap party when we were all told we were going home in Bangkok. They're like, well, I guess we're all leaving tomorrow, so let's go to the roof.
We finished the season. No, the world shut down.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It was so wild. But anyway, Colleen was like, on any given day, she would have to do that scar on my head 3 or 4 different times, episode 12 in the
Wow.
morning, episode 3 in the afternoon, episode 9 in the evening. So it's
Oh, that
always, she had a
yeah.
book.
It
Yeah.
shot like a movie. And you said you shot what was it in Montreal and then Italy and then Bangkok?
Yeah, we were primarily Montreal, and then so that was where our interiors and because have you ever been to Montreal before?
I have not.
It's beautiful. It looks like Europe. So it in the summertime it doubled for Paris and all of the other cities in season 1. And then in season 2 we shot in the wintertime when it was snowy, so that doubled Moscow and Eastern Bloc and Kazakhstan and all those places.
I was going to point out that because of the stupid pandemic, it has been 1,076 days since the last episode of season 1.
It's wild.
It's
You know what? I
hard.
got a text yesterday from Steven Skaya in a group thread with me and Matt. And he said,
Matt the writer, Matt the actor.
Matt the actor. And he goes, do you guys know where we were 4 years ago today? And sent us a picture of the 3 of us overlooking the Coliseum playing baseball in season 1.
Oh, that one, yes.
It was like 4 years ago today. Do you guys remember this? And Matt texts back, he's like, are you kidding me? I remember and I do too, every second of that night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just magic.
And then you got to be in the front of the Coliseum again this season.
Yeah. Look, as far as Italy goes, it's like if you go to Paris, you have to shoot in front of the Eiffel Tower. If we're going to Rome, we have to shoot in front. I mean, it's enormous. There's few places in the city that you can go and the Coliseum isn't, or something ancient is a column or something isn't looming over you.
I want to ask about the explosion in the first episode. You were on screen for less than a minute and you got caught in an explosion.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I knew when they told me, they were like, this is what's going to be the event that launches the new season. Season 1, they blew up the pyramid. Season 2, they blew up me. Which
why would they do that?
Again, it's the whole, like if you're going after, you're going after the lead character's best buddy, it becomes personal.
I know.
And I think that was part of
how
it.
How dare you? And they didn't,
right?
They weren't at that time coming after you specifically. You just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I wanted to ask behind the scenes of that.
Oh, yeah.
It looked to me like it was a composite shot of you actually standing in front of the door, and then a CG version of you in front of a real explosion. Is that what happened?
There was no CG version of me.
Was that a stunt double?
That was not a stunt double. That was me leaping onto a mat with a doorway behind me, the actual doorway. So where we shot it's the Pope's summer home, or was the Pope's summer home. It's not anymore. About 2 hours north of Rome, in this hill town. Beautiful, beautiful old palace with all these paintings, and like we were just marveling over this place. And so they built a replica of that doorway in Montreal.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So what they did was they did a shot of me in front of that door, leaping onto a mat in Montreal, surrounded by a green screen and just the doorway. And the camera's locked off the whole time. Then I step out.
You have to do that when you composite.
Right, exactly. They do it again. And this time they had 4 cannons that were probably 2 to 3 feet wide each, just loaded with cork and balsa and all of these super light debris materials that they filled it up with, these 4 big cannons. And then, they went with that. And that was the big physical blast. And then the fire was digital. So add all of those. Oh, and then in Rome, to get the front shot of the explosions, because we got it from 2 different angles. We got the sort of, quarter angle, 45-degree angle of me getting blown up. And then the straight on, which I think is what they actually wound up using in the show, was like a low angle, straight on explosion.
Yeah, there's 2 shots.
Yeah.
When did you have a stunt double?
I had a stunt double one time, and it was the coolest because I've wanted a stunt double since I was 5 years old. But I got a stunt double and it was funny because they had a stunt double. He's wearing a costume that matches exactly mine. They gave him a wig that looked like my hair. Like, it was very weird. It was cool. Yeah. And it was the very last episode where I'm, spoiler alert for anyone who wants to watch the show and hasn't yet, close your ears for a second. The final episode where I'm defusing the bomb, and then the small explosion that happens with the now defused nuke when I go and knee slide duck behind a wall and the explosion happens over my head. That was the one time I had a stunt double, but I was like, I want to do this. I can do this myself. So they're like, are you sure? Yeah. So the director, Skaya, who's our showrunner too, he was like, great. That means I have to do less work of hiding things and all that. So if we can see your face, let's do it.
It's real exciting, because when I'm watching the show, the first time I watched the scene, I screamed, obviously, because you were caught in an explosion. And the next couple of times, I was like, wait, it's definitely Mark. In that shot, is he CG? Is it a double? It has to be.
No, that was
right.
That was all that second explosion. So that finale explosion, that was all me. And and that the explosion was all practical.
Oh yeah, I could tell from that one, because you don't see the explosion itself. It's off to the left, but you see it, the debris from it, and that debris is all quite light, but you have to act like it's not.
Again, exactly. Again, it's all balsa and cork.
And you were on the set for the explosion that they did at the furniture factory.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I just because I wanted to do it for Pod and Treasure. So and it was
I know that was
I've
exciting.
never been colder in Montreal. That is the coldest I was. No, second coldest. I have been colder. That's the second coldest I was that entire experience. The first coldest was James Callis and I getting out of a transport van, and we were it was so free. It was like 20 something below zero in Montreal. It is crazy cold in that
That's
city.
not possible.
I mean, it's horrifying. So we got out of the van and we literally went, nope. And we walked to the first building that was open, which happened to be a bar. And James Callis and I spent a lot of time in bars while we were shooting.
Oh, it happened to be a bar?
It happened to be a bar.
Sure it did.
Look, if it had been a furniture store that was open, we would have gone in and jumped on the beds, but it wasn't. It was a gin bar that was delightful.
I was going to ask about the scar makeup. You already talked about it, but you had one here and then you had one here, and I would not have known this unless you had just told me. But you were using different because you were shooting different times and different days. And it's like, I was like, wow, I wouldn't even have thought of that. I would have thought you would have like had one location per day or something.
No, they made a book of they made a lookbook for each. I mean, they always will make a lookbook for each actor based on the circumstances of the scene, especially on an action show because you're getting beat up all the time.
Oh yeah.
And in this case, mine was one injury that lasted the whole season. The most annoying was like the first if I would look at this, if I would look at the call sheet and it would be something from 201 or 202, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be in the make. Yeah, I'm going to be in makeup for a long time today. If they're like 211, 212, then it's just the scar, just the little thing on my nose.
That first one, when you were on the floor of the room right after the explosion, how long did that makeup take?
That was fast because that was just because we were we actually were shooting that at that palace north of Rome. So that happened pretty quick. That had to happen on set because while they were blowing up the room, I was off getting made up. It took a lot longer to do the first time around when I was in the hospital.
Yeah, that one too.
There's they're bandaged up.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, why is this happening?
And that one, it was just like wham, blood, and then throw a bunch of dirt on him. And I spent a lot of time super dirty that day. Yeah. It is fun to see, somebody like doing a big intense scene. Like, there was the whole run where Sofia was out of it and she's bleeding out and you think she's going to die for half the season or for half the episode. And it was
help me peel this orange.
Yeah, exactly. when she picks up a landmine and is like, help me peel this orange, which is an amazing line.
The blood loss was causing confusion.
Exactly. And so, or the end of everybody, there's so many scenes where everybody's just a bloody, dying mess. And then, okay, that's lunch. And you go and, that's the game. It's kind of the fun part of it. It's like when you do a horror movie. I've done I did one horror movie and it was like everybody's just covered in blood and it's like, it's ridiculous. And it looks like it was a trauma movie. So it was absolute carnage. But you're at lunch and we're eating Fritos.
And then the part where right after the explosion, we're like, oh my God, is he dead? And then the ninjas walk into the room and they're just standing over you. And I was like, do they know he's alive? Because if they do, they'll probably kill him for being a witness or something. And it was like, he can't die in the first episode.
Yeah. I can't just get rid of me in the first scene.
I know, it was very exciting and scary. And I was like, why is this happening?
Oh, that's awesome.
There was almost no action for you in the first season. There was the kidnapping scene at the end of the first episode, which again freaked out about for quite a while. You asked for that.
Yeah, I got to do more action this season and even though I'm not actually shooting anything, I got to be part of one scene that I think was indicative of everything that Blood and Treasure is. Which is it was in the last episode. There is one shot that is a very long and extensive shot where the Great Khan is making their way through a spiral staircase, just kicking ass. I was going to ask
about that one.
Just kicking ass all the way down like 3 flights. And when the Khan and all of their people, finish up their carnage, that's when the heroes, the Scooby-Doo van, as we used to call ourselves, would come up from the bottom. They come up from the basement, and we all are going back up the same path that the Khan just took down. So it was one long tracking shot, this whole thing. And I think it was the perfect, it really was. I mean, it was props firing on all cylinders with the
you gotta rehearse that.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
It was stunts firing on all cylinders. It was the Khan and the rest of the cast knowing what to do. It was our DP Renault putting a camera on a cable that descended down to the ground and then went back up again. It was our grip department building this whole rig. Like, it was everybody that worked on the show doing everything at the top of their game.
I know. Yeah. You did not have to shoot it in one shot like that. You could have cut like you normally would.
Nah, it was one long shot.
When you were in the hospital and you were just eating your jell-o and minding your own business, and then Lexi comes in and she's a master thief, and then she just stole your jell-o.
She stole my jell-o.
Why?
Because Sofia Pernas is that person. That is one of those things that gets written into a show that is like my love of Rick Steves and National Treasure got written into the show.
Of course.
Sofia Pernas the Furnace, who eats more than, like, her metabolism is just like white hot. I've never seen somebody put away food the way that woman does. It's amazing. And so, like, she would reach over, like, you'd wind up with her fork in your plate constantly. So that bit was a shout out to Sophia just stealing food off of our plates, just in life.
I got two things to say about that real quick. The first one is I love the shot where she puts your cup back down and you kind of go,
yeah.
You take it back. It's like, it's mine. Give it back.
Yeah,
it's mine.
hey.
It's like he's just been an explosion. Now he has his dessert stolen.
I know.
And then another thing I was going to say is the good thing about being on season 2 of a show is that when the writers start knowing the actors, they can write for them. Whereas on the first season, they have that written out and they cast the actors. And your fake name was Marcus, because I was like, oh, I know what they're doing.
Yeah, and Victoria's fake name was Vicky.
Oh, but they didn't say that in the show, though.
Oh, they didn't say. We never said, because it was Marcus and Vicky were the two. That was our fake names when we.
Really? Because that was not said at the show.
We never said her name.
Oh, there was a joke you missed then. There's going to be deleted scenes on the DVD, right?
I'm sure they put some we did all those alt takes of a couple of things that are in the blooper reel, but I don't know which deleted scenes. There was, I'll tell you one scene that we did an alt take of that I loved.
Go ahead.
They didn't wind up using, because I understand that it takes the stakes down lower, but there's a scene late in the season when Shaw and I are leaving the underground. We're leaving the Hong Kong police station to go defuse the bomb, and Shaw gets captured, or he gets attacked by ninjas, and I have to go defuse the bomb myself. So we did the scene a bunch where Shaw gets attacked, and I run back over, and I'm like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And he's like, "Go, go, go, get to the bomb." And But we did one take that was so fun, and just for no reason other than it made us laugh, was Skaya, who was directing the episode. He goes, "Okay, let's do it again. But this time you have seen Shaw kick so much ass that this is not going to phase him." So the scene, instead of like, "Wait, I don't know where I'm going," was, "Hey, Shaw, real quick, do you know where it is that I'm going?" Just kind of like super nonchalant, like I'm asking for his coffee order, while blurry in the foreground, he's kicking all these ninjas' asses. And I just kind of pop in, and knowing full well that he'll be fine, I go into that mode, and that made me laugh really hard. I understand that it diminished the stakes of the scene, but for purposes of us, it was funny.
Yeah, that reminds me of the scene at the beginning of the Avengers when Black Widow's, kicking a whole bunch of people.
Exactly, on the phone.
Coulson's just like,
yeah, it was exactly
just
that
waiting
kind of vibe.
Just waiting for her to finish the fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What are your thoughts on the line, the Vatican or the Vatican?
Oh my God. That made me, I mean, I could not stop giggling at that. And then Sophia couldn't stop giggling at it. And it was one of those just great, like, it was a fun moment.
I know.
Joel, who was the director of that episode, is such a happy-go-lucky guy. And there were even scenes that we shot that we did once, and he was like, "Great, moving on." And we were like, "What? You don't need a safety?" And he was like, "Why?"
You don't need all.
Yeah, he was like, "No, we got it. Why do we need it again? Do something else." That
Um,
said, on that particular shot of Sophia coming up behind me and saying, "Do you work for the Vatican or the Vaticant?" I I couldn't, and we
how
did.
many
We made up
takes did that take?
15 at least. Yeah, we were by the end we're just giggling like idiots and could not get through it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and another line that I think probably took quite a few tries was an extended dissertation on the theological ramifications.
Yeah, that scene. I love that scene. I love that scene so much because it was such an insightful like moment. I mean, it's his moment. It's like, here is when I knew that this was my calling and you were a part of this. That scene I knew really, really well because when we were looking for the actor who was going to play Kate, that was the audition scene or one of the audition scenes. And because I spent so much time, or Chuck spent so much time with Kate in the season, I came in for the audition process, which was fascinating. I'd never really been on that side of it before.
I know you're usually on the other side, but usually you
Yeah.
go to an audition and then you never hear back. You don't
Yeah.
usually, you're not usually the scene partner on the audition.
Yeah, no, which was really fun. Like, and it was cool because I knew I had the part. Like, I'd already done a whole season as this guy. And so it was just fun I felt like my job in that was to just beam as much good vibes to every actor that came in as possible. Because so often, on the other side of a audition table, it's, okay, next.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's very much that sort of thing.
When you were sneaking into the church with the key to find St. Victoria.
Yeah.
And I was like, Chuck, what are you doing? You're breaking a rule.
I know.
You're trespassing.
It was
doing
so
that.
fun. I like that was such a fun night
the
on set too.
the light and stuff. It was like, oh, he's actually going to get in trouble this time. And then you were hiding behind you had your chalk rubbing, and you were hiding behind the thing, and the gardens couldn't see you. And then when you were sneaking out, you were whistling the theme for the show, and I was like, that's a very Chuck thing to do.
Right, whistle the theme song to our own show.
I'll tell you what's meta.
Yeah, I love meta, and one thing that I thought was funny because I whistled the theme song to Blood and Treasure, which is, we actually did a few different versions of it. At one point I whistled the theme to the James Bond, I did a little James Bond. I did I think we did a few versions, but one of them I did was the Blood and Treasure theme, but I did the theme from season 1, which was different. Season 1 was bum 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 bum.
Kind of like Indiana Jones.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all Kyle Newmaster, who is a genius, who worked under John Williams. So, like,
wow.
It makes
I've
sense.
Heard of John Williams.
Yeah, he's great.
Could you whistle the Blood and Treasure theme now?
Sure.
I'm gonna be quiet so I can get a clean version.
That's basically our, yeah.
There's my ringtone.
Hey, there you go.
Thank you. Oh, in that episode, you speak a little bit of Italian when the guard finds you, and he somehow doesn't throw you off the premises.
I am trying to learn Italian better. I have not progressed terribly far yet. I actually had we had an assistant director whose job was to just take care of the main cast and like be our person get us where we needed to be, make sure we were, you know, in the right spot. Ariana, and she's from Italy, she's from Brescia, so she spoke perfect Italian, and she was standing right over my shoulder while we were shooting that bit. So I turn around with my hands up, and like right before we had shot that scene, I'd be like, okay, say it one more time. She's like, credo di essere stato mandato. And I was just memorizing things phonetically.
Yeah.
So I would turn around and just say them phonetically, be like, did I get that right? She'd be like, or,
you know, we'll ADR, it's fine.
I did the lead character. Actually, here's a crazy sidebar story. I did ADR for the dad in one of the Prince and Me movies. Do you know the Prince and Me movies?
I'm not familiar with those.
There, it was a Julia Stiles did this movie where she was like a regular average Joe American girl who winds up marrying a prince. And that's the premise of what became a whole slew of movies. And in one of them, I played the king of this country, called Sangyun was the name of the country. But there's this big scene at the end where I'm doing the looping for that character. And so I watched this scene a million times just to get the lip match right, to make sure I did all of the ADR correctly, because the guy who looked the part, but he had a really high pitched voice, and they were like, we want somebody who has less of an accent. I watched that scene. And so I saw that scene a million times. And when we showed up in Bangkok on the set of what became the Great Khan's Palace, I went, oh my God, this is the exact same location.
Really?
Prince and Me for The Elephant Adventure, where I had played the voice of the king. And it's the exact same location where they have the big wedding finale, where, you know, one movie's wedding finale is another TV show's villains branding a dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jarring. It was a jarring scene.
Yeah. I was like, gosh, can they show that? But did you know that you were going to be on the same set, or did you just realize it when you were there?
No, I realized it when we were there. I saw it when we got there. I was like, and so I immediately brought up the footage from Prince and Me. I was like, I knew I recognized this location.
Isn't it weird that you live in Hollywood and yet you travel to do your TV show?
It makes sense. Like, stuff shoots everywhere, and everywhere has cameras, and everywhere has crews, and everywhere has stunt people. So yeah, it makes sense to shoot all over.
I know, it's just you live in Hollywood.
I know, right?
It's really it's ironic that you have to travel elsewhere to film your TV show.
I know.
You've got Italy, and you can fake Italy, but you don't want to if you can just do it for real.
It's a heck of a lot more expensive to fake Italy and to like build a whole soundstage Coliseum than to just go to the Coliseum.
A couple of years ago, you got this practical or digital effects.
Yeah, with Tommy Hackey, of course. Well, practical effects were what got me going as a kid. That's what, like, watching this show as a kid.
Like squibbings and all kinds of like movie magic.
I love that stuff. Seeing a set, like watching a real explosion on a set is a really exciting thing. And actually, there was a day I went and watched them shoot in season 1 where the bad guy, it was the Nazis getting trapped. They were trapped in a booby-trapped Egyptian tomb. And just watching like the little things, like, you know, it's going to be a sound effect that's added in later, but to watch what on screen becomes a rock that has not moved in centuries, shaking itself loose, and the dust slowly coming off of it as it drops down. In the moment is a styrofoam block and some guy with a bellows blowing dust off of it, and like that rumble was all added later. This is styrofoam. I have a piece of the set right here. I'll show you. Check this out. This is this is part of the tomb from season 1. Everybody in the cast got a piece of it.
Neato.
Isn't that cool?
That's neat.
Yeah. So we autographed a bunch of them and gave them to charity.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have lots of little. I have the Bible from Father Chuck's desk. You know, I keep a lot of little things that they let you keep from the set.
I was going to say, did they know that you kept those?
Yeah, they were like, listen, if you want to
Okay.
take a little tiny, we won't. We'll kind of look the other way.
That means though that Chuck is bilingual, and there might be further Italian things that he has to say at some point.
Listen, I would love to get another season and get another opportunity to speak Italian on
He should be
television.
in season 4 by now. Not for
I
the
know we
pandemic.
should. Listen, you are preaching to the choir, but hey, I get it.
I was worried when the pandemic first hit because I knew that you were overseas someplace filming the show. I
Mhm.
was like, well, what if they cancel it altogether? Because it's such a big show and it's gonna like
Yeah.
it doesn't have standing sets. It's international. Like I
We
don't
were the
think they can film it.
last we were the last American show still shooting. We shot up until March 14th, I think,
Good
of 2020.
heavens.
Yeah. And then that day we were like, we watched the hotel get emptier and emptier and emptier. And Mission Impossible was shooting at around the
7,
same
yeah.
time as us.
Yeah.
So like we were kind of taking things off of them and they were taking things off of us. They actually used when we got to Italy, they used our COVID Bible as their
Wow.
on-set COVID Bible. I like the idea that Father Chuck is, and we talked about this offline with the director or the showrunner, is that yeah, Father Chuck can read and write Latin and speak Italian, but prefers to never got rid of his Boston accent because it grounds him with the people and is more comfortable behind a bar and meeting people where they are.
I feel like Chuck could switch between languages with whoever he's with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the fun things. The idea of like, oh, if I'm in Italy talking to, whoever, I'll do it in Italian, except for Sister Lisa, because she is Italian. And she's a brilliant actor, worked with Bertolucci, like crazy brilliant Italian actor, but she's got an Italian accent. So I guess I never thought about the fact before that why isn't Chuck speaking to Father Lisa in Italian?
Yeah, like
Clearly she's Italian.
Wouldn't they be speaking Italian? And you talked to the cardinal, and he must speak Italian. It's like why wouldn't you? But and also it's for an American audience, so
exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you could sometimes cheat languages like that.
The actor that played the cardinal, by the way, this is how good that guy is. All of his lines, the way that I did my lines in Italian phonetically, he did his lines in English phonetically, but he sold them a hell of a lot better.
Huh.
So he not entirely phonetically, he had heard, your ear picks up things so you can kind of gather a few words here and there, but his whole performance is in a language that he does not speak, which I think is remarkable for that actor to pull that off. And
I'm still mad at him for wanting him to make Chuck disappear.
He's so fun. He was such a good dude too. Like, yeah, the guys that play the bad guys are always the nicest.
In the episode when you and Kate are sneaking into, what's the character's name? Or not sneaking into, but you, the time when you have fake names and backstories.
Oh yeah, the priest in Tuscany, the Tuscan priest.
Yes, yeah. Yes, him. And then you had a moving speech, which was really neat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was another fun monologue. They gave Chuck a bunch of monologues this season, which I thought was really fun. Season. Yeah, it was cool. Because Chuck's his
the main character, right?
In my world, he is.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It's cool. I like to get to play a character for whom words are their weapon. Like he's like, no, my job is not to coerce or force. My job is to convince this person to open up to me, and here is how I'm going to do it. So it's like tactical moves, but they're verbal tactical moves.
It's interesting when an actor is, for whatever reason, playing somebody who is a bad actor, and it's just funny, you acting not very well.
Yeah, right. Just trying to pull that off. It's funny, like I'm a terrible liar. Like,
you're an actor, though.
That's what people say. And they're like, but you're an actor, can't you? And it's like, no, it's a different muscle. You're not lying when you're acting. You are imagining. You're imaginatively in a situation, and dealing with that situation dealing with an imaginative situation as truthfully as possible is different than dealing with a real situation as untruthfully as possible.
That's a great way of putting it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it was fun. And plus, Victoria and I are really tight, and we always had fun goofing around together. And
Mhm.
like playing with her on set is always the most fun. Any
Yeah,
chance we got to goof around
you
together.
had a lot of scenes together this
We
year, and
did, yeah.
I almost forgot that she wasn't even in the first season.
No, I know, right? She
Like it,
just
like
popped
it,
up this year.
yeah, it feels like she was in there longer than. And then you got to mention National Treasure again
I know. I
because
mentioned
for
National
you.
Treasure. I mentioned Rick Steves, all of my favorite nerdy things that I personally like. Yeah.
I was, yeah, when I saw that scene, it was like, oh, I know what they're doing there.
So
That's Mark
funny.
stuff. I love that. We find out in that scene that Father Alonso has died or perhaps been
Yeah.
killed. What do you think actually happened to him?
Oh, I think that there was a crossover with Angels and Demons, and Alfred Molina's character from the Da Vinci Code universe had him killed.
I'm nodding as if I understand the reference.
I think Father Alonso was killed.
I mean, he became dead. We don't know how though.
Yeah, car accident. Car accident.
If you
If the
believe,
authorities are to be believed.
yeah, if you believe the
Yeah.
authorities. I watched all of your scenes multiple times, so
Ah,
I have it
that's
mostly memorized.
I'm like, me too. Mostly memorized. I had it mostly memorized on the day.
And then episodes 9 and 10, you accidentally forgot to be in those.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. There's well, my contract was 10 out of 13. So I only did 10 of the 13 episodes. I was in
But
five, I think 5, 9, and 10 I was out of, which
yeah,
I
like
do not like. I want to be in all, I want to always be in everything. And even
yeah,
when I wasn't on set, I was there.
I wait all week for you to be on the show, and then you weren't there, and it was like,
No, I'm
harumph.
sorry.
I came here to see the Father Chuck show, and then you have these other characters.
Well, the other characters are delightful.
I'm sure they are, but they're not Father Chuck.
I
You get it,
appreciate
right?
that. I get it.
Thank you. And then you were absent for 2 whole episodes.
Yeah.
And then the next time we see you're all crying because you found out that Kate has been killed. And I was like, my poor baby. I just wanted to give him a hug.
It was really, that was hard. That was a hard day to shoot.
How do you cry on set?
I'd never been asked to cry on cue before. And I don't even think I really did. I did in a couple of takes. It's not really about the crying, it's about staying in the moment.
Yeah.
For that particular day, Victoria is a champ. And I went a little sort of actory method. And I said, I told Victoria the night before, I was like, look, I got to shoot this scene tomorrow. That's going to be really hard for me. It's the scene where I find out that, again, more spoilers. If you don't know the show, this is the scene where I find out that Kate died. So I told Victoria the night before, I said, here's what I would love from you if you don't mind doing it. Chuck and Kate are old friends. I bet the two of them share a lot. And one of the things that they might share is a song that they both love. So here's what I would like you to do. I would love for you tomorrow. So we're shooting the scene tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, send me what you think is Chuck and Kate's song. And she said, okay. And that night, I got a text message, and it was a Spotify link. And I clicked the link, and it was right. And I didn't click it right then. I knew when we were about to shoot the scene. And I'm getting ready to shoot this scene. It's dark. The crew's, all set up. I hit play, and I listened to the song, and it got me.
What song was it?
I'm not going to tell you. That's for me and Victoria.
All right, if you say so. But like that's a great idea that you had.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out.
Because you, Mark, were hearing that song in that context for the first time. But as Chuck, you'd heard that song many, many times before.
And it ripped me apart.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh. In the best way, though, like as an actor. Well, and then like after, at the end of the day, I see Victoria back in the, back at the hotel.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all pretend, but still you have to.
But still, it's still
in the moment.
That's the thing, is you're playing pretend, but you really have to dig into and to dive into, like, what do these two people mean to each other? And I'd like not just doing that by myself. I like doing it with the person who is my partner in this.
Oh, I love that you came up with that idea. That was great.
Yeah, it worked. It was really fun.
Oh, but I saw that and I was like, why is Mark crying? He's sad. Make him stop
Yeah.
being sad,
Oh,
please.
oh, that's very
Because
kind.
I can't emotionally separate Father Chuck and Mark Gagliardi. So in my mind, later on when you're kidnapped
Yeah.
and tied to the chair, I'm like, how is he supposed to do we got this with Hal if he's tied to a chair? Did he even bring his recording equipment with him?
I'll tell you exactly how. Is you do this, and then when they yell cut, you just do this.
Hey,
Listen, I
spoiler
hate
alert.
I hate to break it to you. That was just me holding my hands behind my back. There was a great. I was really proud that one moment got in, and it was so simple. I think it got in where he gets a call as I'm about to get my kneecaps popped off by this lunatic. He gets a call, and then I just kind of give a little
I
look
love
up to
that.
the big
I
man.
love
Yeah,
that.
that was a fun.
That
I
was
love
great.
those little moments.
Oh, could you tell me about the kidnapping scene?
The
Because like
kidnapping scene. Oh, and at the
at the
airport.
airport,
Yeah.
I was freaking out about that.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was so the guy that kidnaps me is like a legendary Thai stunt man. And he actually was our stunt coordinator in Thailand. Just he had done every movie that's ever shot in Bangkok. But yeah, it was fun. It was we're at this old airport that they didn't use anymore, or it was like it was some sort of building that was they dressed it to look like an airport. It was wild because at that point, this was late in our Bangkok run, so we already knew that COVID was becoming a thing and was going to be something we were going to have to deal with.
Mm.
So every scene every beat of that scene that we shot at the airport, where I get stabbed in the neck and thrown in the car, is we shot all of that twice. We shot it once where all of the extras were wearing masks, and
Noticed.
we shot it once where they weren't. So we didn't know if this show was going to live in a world that had COVID or not. It was early on in COVID, so we
That's
didn't know what was
that's
going to
good
happen.
foresight to try
Yeah.
to think about what you might need.
Yeah, exactly. So that was an odd kind of thing for that scene. But yeah, it was fun. It was one of those, like, it's a weird moment to get. I mean, obviously it's a fake syringe, and to just it's like doing a trust fall, because you really have to trust these stunt dudes, because it's like I get stabbed in the neck and I have 3 seconds and it's just go limp. That's what I'm told, is just give them all of your dead weight. So I became a sack of potatoes. And I don't know how those guys got me in that car, but they did, and they even got my hat in there.
I kind of suspected that because you were gone for 2 episodes and you were blatantly disregarding every warning that you had been issued so far.
Yeah.
It's like he's going to get in trouble in the next episode for sure. But then he just gets kidnapped, and I was like screaming and crying on the floor, and it was like 2 hours of me just frantically tweeting people on Twitter and you and the writers, and it was like, Chuck's actually okay, right? This would be fine. And then that week I stress ate all of the junk food.
Listen, me too. Whatever they would allow me, of course, in the backseat of the. It was fun. We shot
like,
that the scene after him? That we shot it like a year before that too.
Wow, I know it's weird that things are shot out of order like that.
Yeah, there was one day that we shot like, I mean, James Callis remembered it was 1 year to the day.
Which scene was that?
I don't remember which one it was.
Oh, because I looked for it and I didn't see it. So I mean, it looks like it's all one continuous.
Well, the upstairs at the Golden Tiger was in Montreal, shot in 2019, and downstairs at the Tiger was shot in Bangkok late in March 2020.
You'd never notice.
Yeah,
that was a hard week for me, because I was like, Chuck's okay, right? He's going to be okay, right? And then I made the newspaper, because it's like, well, I got to do something with my free time while I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Almost an obituary at that point.
Yeah. And then someone had called Matthew Fetterman on Twitter, said, because I tweeted it at the writers too. He said, I thought it was just a mock-up, but you actually wrote an article. Well done.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's nice.
That's one of our 2 showrunners.
So I was like, well, this is a good use of my time while I wait for the exciting conclusion. And then in the next scene, you're unconscious and tied to a chair again.
It's what happens.
And then tell me about that scene. Was it scary? Were you scared?
It was no, it was, I mean, it's all pretend. So it's all like I know what's gonna happen, like I know that in a third of a page, Shaw is gonna come in and save me. And there was a really fun moment in that.
Yeah. Tell me about the fight scene.
Watching Shaw make his entrance by just chucking a ninja into the room is so funny. And then so he just whoops up on all these dudes. And then Skaya, who on set always has really fun little moments that he finds, our director, Stephen Skye, and Steve Boyum, who was also directing. So Steve Boyum, I should say, is a legendary stunt coordinator turned legendary action director in Hollywood. And he unfortunately was unable to do any of the traveling with us because of COVID. Steven and Steve, they sort of tag teamed on a bunch of episodes, but still they had that same sort of mentality of let's try fun things in the moment. And the idea that these characters love action movies is a big part of the show. So there was a moment he really wanted to capture, and I think we got it in the episode that's really fun, where after Shaw, the tough guy, whoops all these dudes, comes over to me, and we have a moment like,
yes,
dude, that was so cool. Oh my gosh, man, that was like WWE. Yeah, you threw that guy through a table. Oh my God, you threw that guy through a table. Okay, let's get out of here. Like just having a brief moment of, dude, can you believe how awesome that was one of those really fun things that just as actors and as a director, they found. And they were like, you guys get a kick out of this. So we were like,
that's
okay,
what the
really
characters
funny.
would do.
Exactly. These characters would get a kick out of this.
If it was a James Bond movie, like that's a different sort of thing. They don't watch movies in
James Bond doesn't live in a world where there are action, James Bond doesn't live in a world where there are James Bond movies. We live in a world where there are James Bond movies.
I know, and you're going to comment on them because
exactly.
I was imagining Hal watching that scene, and I've never watched wrestling, and I never will. But I know that Hal likes the wrestling ball.
He does.
Whatever it is. And I was thinking, oh, they broke a bunch of table and chairs. That's what wrestling is, right?
A lot of that. A lot of breaking stuff.
Speaking of Hal, in the final episode, talk about
that. Oh, that was awesome. I was so excited. There were so many different versions of that last scene. And the version they came in with, Steven was like, this actually exists. This is a real, we are lampooning an actual website or an actual YouTube video. And it was like, this is real. He's like, yeah. So this is what Shaw is going to send you from his ninja fight. He's like, I'll be back at the base or whatever it was. Like, so they're like, you're going to watch this YouTube video that's going to tell you how to do it. And I was like, hey, can I pitch you an idea?
I know what the idea is.
And he's like, yeah. I was like, can my podcast partner make a cameo as the voice of this? And he was like, absolutely. He knew Hal, like he knew they knew Thrilling Adventure Hour, and Matt and Steven were fans of Thrilling Adventure Hour. So of course they knew Hal. So they were like, absolutely. So they called Hal up, and Hal was like, I'd love to. And Hal was game. And it was just, it was just a really fun, it was a fun Easter egg in the show. And like if all I had to say was like, hey, Steven, can we put an Easter egg in the show? He'd be like, 100%.
Can I admit something?
Sure.
I didn't realize it was Hal.
Oh, really?
I know the first.
I mean, it's not. He never says his name or anything.
No, but like
I knew. I mean, I know I've listened to 400 hours of his voice, though.
So have I.
There.
The first time I listened to it, I don't have any excuse. Maybe I was just so into the show, and like you didn't react to him because you're not Mark in the show. You're Chuck.
Right.
And like, but then people were pointing it out on Facebook and Twitter, and I was like, what, how, where? And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, now I'm so embarrassed.
It was so,
like,
I was so excited.
Obviously that's Hal. And then the video cuts out halfway through, and I was like, of course it does.
Yeah.
So how on earth is Chuck the priest just diffusing a nuclear bomb? Like, how does that even happen?
It's all thanks to Hal Lublin. Just like we got this with Mark and Hal is all thanks to Hal Lublin, the saving of the world via nuke diffusion. All Hal.
That was so cool. Kate McManus, our friend, asked, when Hal was hired to do the disarm a nuke voiceover, did you both high five and say, "We got this"?
In our brains, we did.
Yeah.
Digitally, we did.
Yeah. Real quick, at the end of the final episode of last season, when Shaw is helping you escape, Shaw goes after what? No, some of the characters who are not Chuck saying some other lines, and someone at some point says, "That's basically the show. It's the Father Chuck show followed by some other characters."
I like where your head's at, Kristen.
Thank you. It's like you're the reason I'm watching the show.
Ah, thanks.
But someone in that scene says, "We got this," and like you don't acknowledge that your podcast or anything, and I'm like, but wouldn't you have noticed? Like, I know you're having adrenaline now and everything. This is what I mean when I say I can't separate the actor and the character.
Yeah.
Like that's Mark Gagliardi.
I'll tell you. I'll put it this way. Chuck
ahead.
didn't know, but the actor playing Chuck clocked it. So it was like, we got this. In my brain, I went, hell yeah, we do.
Like I know intellectually that you're an actor, but I can't emotionally separate it. A couple other questions from the internet.
Sure.
Anna Brecky on the We Got This Facebook group wants to know what your favorite cool history fact you learned while working on the show.
Ooh, that's good.
Italy or Bangkok or anything?
I think the coolest thing I learned about was Air America. I didn't know anything about Air America, but finding out about that and diving into it, and then even talking to Mark Valley about his time, because he was a veteran, the guy that plays Danny's dad, and just like talking about that sort of lifestyle, and with hearing military stories from him, and coupling that with having never heard of Air America before. And so like any history thing that happened on the show, I would try to do just for myself a dive into to learn a little bit about. But I love
the history.
I do love the history. I think Air America was the most fun of them.
When you were tied to the chair and then you were sassing the guys, the heavily armed thugs, and it was like, maybe don't sass them while you're tied to a chair, and like, oh well, now he's not enough. Oh, now he's threatening you with bodily harm.
That's kind of the arc of Chuck that I thought was a lot of fun, is in season 1 when I am duct taped and have a gun pulled on me, I'm terrified. And in season 2, when I'm duct taped and have a gun pulled on me, I'm like, this isn't the first time I've had a gun pulled on me. Yeah,
this is Chuck. Chuck has seen some stuff and been through some stuff.
Exactly. Because we were in zone lockdown at the time, where zone A actors could not touch zone B actors physically. You had to maintain social distancing between the different zones, but the core cast, we could all physically have contact with one another, which means that sometimes people in zone A had to do tiny moments that would have normally been done by a zone B actor. So when I'm sitting in the chair, and I don't even know if this actually made it on the show, but a hand with a Con brand on it reaches across my mouth and rips the duct tape off. That hand belonged to Matt Barr. Because none of the other actors could physically touch. Zone B actors couldn't physically touch zone A actors. There's also a scene where I kidnap Kate, like where Kate gets thrown in the back of a van. That's me in a ninja costume.
Hang on a second.
Because I was able to pick her up and throw her in the back of the van.
All these strange rules that you have to work around.
Yeah.
Whatever ended up happening to those thugs who kidnapped you and then the ones in the warehouse? Did they get their comeuppance? Because we never see them again.
I like to think that anybody that gets beaten up on the show, they when all the action has left and they come to, they shake it off, immediately change their ways, become good people, and go out and do something nice for the world.
Okay,
that's what I think happened to those characters.
Because when Shaw comes in and beats up everybody in a wrestling thing. The guy who had the knife was not among them, and I was noticing, well, now he's still out there with his knife and threatening kneecaps.
Oh yeah, he wasn't. He was that actor. It was great because he was one of the stand-ins in Italy. So all the actors have stand-ins. He was one of the utility stand-ins when we were in Rome shooting, and they were looking for an actor to play that part, that sort of menacing guy. And he was like,
quite good at it.
He was like, "Give me a shot at it." And they were like, "Okay." And he did it, and they were like, "Great." you got the part. And so he just like from being on set and being cool and being good at it. And, he gets this cool, juicy little moment of like, I'm going to threaten this character. And I guess real
Do
quick.
not threaten the star of the show. Stop doing that.
That's what I said. Star of the show. I like that.
Stop having that knife. Do not have that knife. I normally watch the new episodes in the middle of the night when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
But the episode after the one where you got kidnapped, I had to wait until the rest of the family was up so that I didn't end up screaming and waking everybody up.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you made sure nobody else was going to get awakened by it.
Guys, I'm going to watch the new episode now. Please disregard any screaming for the next hour.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, we had some legendary camera guys on this show. We had, we've got guys in Rome who are running backwards with a steady cam while I'm trying to do those phone call scenes.
Yeah.
We had Alphonse and Stefan in Montreal who just, these guys were fearless and would do anything, go anywhere to get a shot. Like it was just amazing.
Go back to Mission Impossible in the sixth one where Tom Cruise jumps out of the airplane for real.
Mm-hmm.
The camera person also jumps out of the airplane for real.
Sure. Yeah. They're doing the crew is doing everything the actors are doing and vastly more.
I know, it's incredible to think about it because you expect the actors to maybe also be stunt trained, but you don't expect the camera people to be stunt trained necessarily. That's just really cool.
Now Michelle is a stunt person before she was an actor, or like she does both. And Sophia too can fight. So all of those fights, they use doubles a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
They used doubles when we had to be in different zones and zone B and zone A couldn't touch. So like they had to use Matt and Sophia's doubles for those fight scenes when we were in Rome. But mostly it's them doing all the fighting. Yeah.
At the end of the last episode, Danny gets shot in the chest and he's like bleeding out. And I was like, is he going to die? Is this going to be the last episode? And then the very next scene, which takes place presumably months later, he's perfectly fine. I'm like, what?
Was that a dream sequence though?
The ending scene?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say
we had that conversation.
I have to go back. No, they both died on the helipad. Chuck did not defuse the bomb. Hong Kong was completely destroyed.
No, everything was saved. It's just is this Danny's afterlife where everything works out for the best?
How much time after the helipad scene was the epilogue? Because you finally healed.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a month or two, maybe.
It had to have been a couple of months because 2 bullets to the chest would take a while to heal.
Yeah, whatever required Danny.
And they got married in that time too. And of course, Chuck officiated, but we didn't see it.
Well, their wedding. Technically, they got married on the helipad. That was their wedding. That, like, for our purposes, that's their wedding. When they say, in some cultures, what the like trading of blood or whatever it was. I don't know if it was a blood thing or a whatever now that means they're married.
I was too busy worrying if Chuck had any debris in his hair or anything.
So. Fair. Me too. I was off just combing it out.
Whatever happened to the MacGuffin, the spirit banner at the end? Did they put it back where they found it? Because they never said.
I mean, I hope they cleaned it first. I imagine it's in the same vault with the Temple of Doom or with the Ark of the Covenant.
It's never seen or mentioned again after that, even though it's the MacGuffin for the whole season.
Yeah.
And you wait a minute. Did you get to see it at some point? Chuck, I mean?
Chuck never sees it, no.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't even get to see
I mean, I saw it, but yeah,
you did, but
yeah, I don't even meet Violet. Yeah,
no, I was thinking about that later. I was like, he's the star of the show, and the main antagonist is not even. This is weird. Is it possible I have a slightly skewed version of what the show is? Maybe,
yeah.
There's a lot of blood in that last scene on the helipad. I was like,
well, it's the title character of the show.
It is the title character. Actually, it's blood and treasure, but it's more like. Mostly blood, some treasure.
Yeah, one treasure that we're following and leaving a trail of blood.
The treasure gets covered in blood. Explosion, forehead field. Oh, so Chuck's in the Vatican Intelligence now?
There's no such thing as Vatican Intelligence.
You're going to say that? What was Chuck's best moment this season?
For me, I think the most fun moments to play were those the three big monologues I got to do. The one with Kate where she's
One,
tied up.
two.
There's one with Kate where she's tied up. The one with the priest in Tuscany where I convinced him to
Yeah.
tell me
What's
about
the other one?
the thing, and then the prayer in the
Oh,
cave.
that's the one.
So as an actor, those were some of the toughest moments. Anytime I got to play with Victoria was a blast. Anytime I got to play with Matt, like Matt and I love that guy so much. And whenever we get to play together, it's so fun. Like we really are the two 12-year-olds who are like, no way, dude, check this out. Like that's just who we are with one another. So getting to do that on the show was always fun.
Isn't this amazing?
Yeah.
That this is your actual job.
I know. I can't. It's the best job I ever had.
What's your favorite of Chuck's lines this season?
Favorite of Chuck's lines?
Yeah, because you probably have a bunch.
I do. There, yeah, those monologues were amazing. But as far as just like one-liner quips, should have offered me that chair. That's just courtesy. I love that bit.
Yeah.
All of that run of insulting those dudes was a lot of fun. There was one that I thought was pretty funny, was beginning a prayer with hey, it's
God.
me from work.
Hey God,
Yeah, hey God, it's me, Chuck, from work. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, there's so much. It's nice to actually get a script. Like, for so long I would come and do one scene on a show and leave, and as far as like TV stuff.
yeah.
But to get full arcs of story and like
That's
all
so
this, it's
cool.
really exciting. As an actor, it's really meaty and fun and exciting.
This is so cool. Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Kate McManus again wants to know, did you have a playlist or song or that you associate with Chuck or any other method of getting into character?
The way that I got into character, like to research, was to go to Boston, go to where the seminary was, and hang out at the bar next to the seminary.
At the bar, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's where Chuck lives, and that's where I live, is in bars. I'm a big fan.
I know.
And so that was a big part of it. No, I actually didn't have anything specific like that launched me into it. The only song that really I used in performance was that one with Kate on the day that I found out that she died.
That was sad.
Yeah. When I read, like, we didn't know any of the stuff that's in the script until we read it. And in that episode, no, it was the episode before that, we find out who the Khan is. And in that episode, the Khan kills Kate. So it was like, what is happening on this show?
Congratulations on Blood and Treasure season 2.
Thank you. This was a delight to get to chat with you.
You too.
Yeah.
Will there be a season 3?
I don't know, but I sure hope so.
Well, I hope to chat with you again about season 3.
Oh, I'm excited. And from your mouth to God's ears, I have an in. I'll talk to him.
Okay. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.